Yep.
The goal of economic development has to, at a basic level, be the creation of decent jobs for Burlingtonians, and jobs that bring revenue and investment down into our community. If we're going to meet the challenges that are coming down the pike, we've got to find a way to grow the grand list at a rate that is faster than the 1% that we've seen. Now, the question right now is whether we're comfortable trusting the strategies of the past 30 years and the strategies of politics as usual, or whether we're actually going to try something new and different, somebody who has a background in economic development and actually understands job creation. That's the background that I bring. I mean, I stand out in this race because I haven't been on city council since 1994. I stand out in this race because I haven't chaired the city council, and I stand out in this race because I'm not the incumbent mayor. But I do bring a set of skills that understands how to meet the challenge of the next three years, which is the economic uncertainty that's out there right now. Now, as I said, the goal of economic development has to be the creation of decent opportunities for Burlingtonians, drawing investment down into our downtown, and growth. And I think our history, from way back when Gordon Paquette's first envisioned the Church Street Marketplace, is that we can move forward without compromising our quality of life, and we can grow without compromising our quality of life. So thank you. One of the frustrating things is that there is significant demand out there on the part of people like the questioner who want to live in a place that they can walk to work, walk downtown on a warm night, and when they have children, walk their kids to a decent school. I've said it before and I'll say it again. And that demand is one of the things that's going to help us through this economic downturn, because if we can capitalize on that demand by bringing more families and more housing and more investment into our community, we'll grow the grand list beyond the 1% that we've seen historically. We'll actually have the opportunity to have new students and a growing student population. I mean, we've seen incremental increase in the last year or two, but we can drive the demand for those city services so those neighborhood schools continue to thrive if we create the opportunity for families to continue to participate in our community. Now, the strategy around the downtown, we've seen incredibly high-end housing developed. We need to create a broader regulatory opportunity for housing across the spectrum to occur in the downtown area and in the transition areas. We need to understand what those obstacles are, and we need to also understand it's not like this problem evolved today. It's happened over the last 5 years. It's happened over the last 10 years, and we just took 6 years to redo the zoning ordinance. We spent $600,000 on it, and it didn't adequately address that problem. You know, I mean, we had the opportunity, and the question for the voters out there right now is whether they're going to trust the same folks to solve the problem they didn't solve the first time through. Thank you all for very much for coming out tonight, and also I want to thank my opponents as well for being up here. I respect anybody willing to put themselves out for public office and go through this process, because it is grueling, and if you can tell from my voice. But I'll say, you know, I think that Andy's comment about the 12-foot setback issue is a good example, and not because it's a good example because it's about whether we just put a line in the sand and say this is what's right, 12 feet is what's right, or whether we're willing to be confident enough to embrace creativity and say we may not be sure what it looks like, but we're willing to try something different and think a little differently about what our municipality can be, and we're willing to challenge some assumptions about what we can be and what we can look like. And I fully support the walkability of our downtown, and I believe very deeply that people want to live in that place where they can walk to work. So the questions become, we talked about a lot of issues tonight. We talked about a lot of specifics. We talked about the Southern Connector. We talked about parking and housing and navigating processes. All those things came up. The question becomes for voters who it is they trust to address the issues and the challenges that haven't even come up yet, that we haven't considered, and who it is going to put together the team that reflects the most nonpartisan, the most post-partisan a team that's out there. Because I am the only independent candidate in this race, and my support is coming from across the political spectrum, and it's also coming from across the city. I'm getting support from the new North End, I'm getting support from the old North End, I'm getting support from the South End and the Hill section. And if I win, it'll be because I ran strong in all of those sections. It's not because I'm relying on a particular neighborhood, particular history, or a particular party. And that's the opportunity for change and leadership that I'm bringing to this race. And that's why I'm excited to give this city an alternative they haven't seen for a long time. And that's a mayor who's a mayor for the entire city, for every age demographic, for every socioeconomic demographic, for every neighborhood, and every person who's willing to share a good idea no matter where it comes from. So I'm delighted to be here. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to serving as the next mayor of Burlington.